once the pieces come back from the framer, then they go out to the world, and then there's this point where I'm sharing them with my audience and with everyone around me. They can finally take it all in and enjoy your story that you're telling. And it's actually quite hard for me to envision the exact person, for instance, or the exact home or the environment that the pieces will go into. But I think most artists would agree with me. We would love the custodian of your piece to love it and to cherish it because they're purchasing it because they just absolutely love it. There's no need for them to purchase this artwork. It's not going to pay their bills, or it's not going to do anything that's actually going to change their life in that regards. But if it can change their life in bringing them joy and become a legacy that they potentially pass down from their family to the next, or from one loved one to another, for me, that's the greatest joy my artwork could bring to me personally, and hopefully to others. For me, handing the piece over to the framer, it's actually quite a big moment. It's almost like a reveal in the sense that it's not going to the public, but it's going to your brain's trust. So once I hand the piece over to my picture framer and I trust it within his gentle care, then we like to talk about the framing. And framing for me is actually really important because not many artists frame their work for their clients. They're actually happy for the artwork to sit in a gallery unframed, but I feel as though this work particularly, it needed the frame because I felt, as I mentioned earlier, it sits within a vignette in my mind, and by framing it, it's creating a physical vignette. So I love to work with my framer, and the frames are all sourced locally within Australia. They're a beautiful Tasmanian oak, and we actually couldn't find the right stain for the frame, so the framer and I worked on sourcing this beautiful colour and working together so that we would have this perfect tone that matched each of the 4 pieces so beautifully, and each of the 4 pieces are framed with the same stain. Each piece is obviously individual, and it's almost like a time capsule of my life within that period of time for that 4 weeks or that 6 weeks that I'm working on that physical entity. But then together the 4 pieces tell a story, and the story for me comes from a journey from working in an industry like fashion, where I'm working creatively and giving so much of myself to all these incredible brands that I work with from around the world, to actually saying, who am I as a person, and how do I express myself by bringing this element of who I am as a creative director into who I am as an artist. And this is where I came up with the name Between a Rock and a Hard Place. I am coming to the realization through the process of the 4 pieces that I want to be working in both industries. So I'm between a rock and a hard place, and yet there's this lovely metaphor because all of the objects are balancing, and there are rocks in the images, and the rocks are balancing, and it does look like, if anything could fall over at any minute, you're in between a rock and a hard place. Some people have asked me why 4 pieces, and it's not a huge collection, it's very small, it's bespoke, but for me, it is an evolution. The first piece I started was during COVID, and the 4th piece for me was towards the end when my career started getting busier again in creative direction. And so those 4 pieces fit that timeline of that period of time, and I couldn't have extended on that if I'd have tried. The greatest reward as an artist is for you to evoke emotions in your audience, and not all artists want to evoke the feeling of joy and happiness, but for me, that's a very satisfying thought that my artwork touches people in that way. And even to the point where I was so honoured with the fact that one of the pieces in the collection was chosen for a People's Choice Award. I find that quite exciting and quite humbling, because that means that thankfully, something that I'm expressing on canvas is actually appreciated and loved by more people outside of the circle of my friends and family. So in many ways now I see this as the beginning of the journey, and it's actually really exciting. And a beautiful bespoke collection of 4 pieces was a really good way to start, but now I'm ignited to produce more work, and I've actually been working on several new and exciting pieces. I'm really enjoying experimenting in different mediums like sculpture, so I actually can't wait to share with you the rest of my journey. If you connect with the pieces and they give something to you and you feel like they're the kind of artworks you'd like to hang on your wall, then come and visit me at my website and say hello, and all of the pieces are available for purchase, and I can't wait to hopefully see you soon.